So, now that you know that, let's get on with actually making the hills. I need to Z, thank you. For starters, what I need to do, I need to reference this again, because I just did this, and now I need the 152, which means there are 120. This is the width of the repeating span that I use. Yeah, 120 is pretty big. This is the conversion of it in feet here. You know the conversion to meters now, right? From feet to meters. Okay. Let's see here. See how I got Windows Task Manager up here where I can easily just... So let's say the program went into that infinite loop. I just click here and just end task. That's all I gotta do. It's something with a GTK that's screwed up, and I haven't been able to figure out why. Let's see, that was a 152. This is the scaling, if you remember from that one old video, right? Let's see here. I want to get rid of the sky. I do need this black background so I can improve the contrast. I want these. And these I can otherwise, well, get rid of that. Clear this out so there's nothing there. And now I need to resize this to 120. Okay, and there's that. And so I can see what I'm doing. I reduce the opacity on that significantly. I get that color. That's the dark side. I always start with the dark side. Now I zoom in all the way over to this left side, and I start drawing the shape. Miss, and I'll be getting that quite often, unfortunately. Too much. And then I just basically form the shape like this. It's going to get a little smoother here. These are actually smooth hills, so because they're kind of like the Appalachian Mountains in the east central U.S. in a sense. They're old mountains, so they're quite smooth generally. This is already getting pretty close to the maximum steepness. It's double clicked, I don't need that. And I just keep going all the way up to the top. However, one thing to note, notice how their height is actually increasing here. Height CU, it keeps on increasing. Okay, so that means the foreground one, those that are in front, yeah, uh-oh, are you editing the wrong layer? Yes, I am. Oh boy, I hate that. Yep, so that means I need to redo this, and then some. That is the most annoying thing, and I get it quite frequently. And you can't even tell if I'm editing the wrong layer, or at least at first glance. So, whenever that happens, copy, paste, go to here, paste that, output. Okay, that looks different. Okay, and then I otherwise just fill this in. It's all one color. Something is strange here. Oh, okay, that is right. Oh boy. Okay, and that's what's supposed to happen. Make sure I'm on the right layer this time. Yeah, make sure I'm on the right layer. Get that original color back. And now let's resume. Finally. Now that I'm otherwise near the top, it's going to end up getting rounded off, or smoothed out, I should say. And then it starts going back down the other way, and this time it uses the lighter color. Yeah, I just hold Control and select that way. And then I just otherwise repeat the process on the downward path. Miss. And since I'm otherwise near the end of this, it's miss. It's otherwise time to conclude this particular setting, except I want a design change there. And that's basically the end shape, or at least for that part anyway. The next part is that center divider thing here. And for this, I basically base it on the halfway point between this side and this side. That's what I use to determine that. Yep, the only way I'm able to do artwork is to put numbers into things. Of course, exactness in this case is not really important. Although I do tend to smooth things out a lot. It's a habit. Yep, I just compare this over to this, making adjustments as needed. See, this side and this side are almost about the same steepness, but here it's really starting to get a lot steeper. And even that's starting to smooth out too, of course. And let's see, I want to offset this a little bit. Yep, that's the eraser. It's steep like that because, well, there's this here. And I'm going to get another one because of that one. Okay, now it's got to start heading back the other way. And that I would otherwise conclude that part of the, or at least that hill is otherwise done, or maybe I should say short mountain. So, get that color, and this time I need a different setup for the hills. Now you remember that divide by 4, right? Okay, this is 120. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see that there. So I'll just do it this way. You can see the 120 here now better, right? Okay. Now, I need exactly 1/4 of that, which happens to be 30, as you saw there. I always start from the bottom, except I need to Z that. So that way I can determine where to start the draw. Because this way, nothing... Because remember that rule? Nothing is allowed, no transparent part is allowed below the 1/4 mark. So, I'll just work on this and pretty much using the same system as this until another marker comes along. With these hills now otherwise approaching the top, things are a little different. Notice how it's going up much, much, much higher? Well, that's for a reason. You remember how that these hills were going upwards, right? They're constantly going upwards, okay? This one's in the front, and which in a sense seems to make that it's otherwise closer. With the closer ones, that means they're going to be a little shorter. Thus, these frontal ones are going to be shorter. These back ones, however, are going to be taller. And that's basically where this comes in. Let's see. And usually what I do for this is I otherwise max it out. In this case, I get the highest possible one first thing as soon as I absolutely can. And this side is going to be quite gentle as well, as per my limits anyway. And of course this one goes down quite a ways. And I'll just continue until I get to another checkpoint. And when I get close to the bottom like this, one thing I usually do is take 3/4 of this height here. 120 means I need 90. So, and that otherwise marks how far I need to go down in this case. And of course with some overlap. Miss. Okay, there's that. And that's how far that goes down. At the very lowest possible. For now, I do everything at the very lowest possible. There's actually a reason for that. And like before, do this. And whenever I need to do this one, I also include that pixel directly above, because bucket fill, they won't get that pixel then. So I otherwise end up having to do that. And when I otherwise get near the bottom, that's where things are a little different, since I'm otherwise at the bottom. It's kind of straight here. But for this point, I just make up pretty much whatever. It doesn't really matter how I want it. But in this case, I think that kind of straight line dash is otherwise good to go. And now, for the rest of the hills, it's done otherwise pretty much the same way as before. Except I, well, mark that point. Yeah, except I want to do a little different type setup. Yeah, because I want this area to be a little on the steeper side. Since I'm now otherwise done with these hills, or at least for the third one anyway, there's something else I want to do and mention that I kind of forgotten in a way. Now, you remember how I processed the clouds video, right? And how I shift things so I can get the proper tiling? Well, that's pretty much what I need to do. So I just, at first it's quite random, so I just pick something, especially on this tall one here. And I just copy that, because I'm shifting everything to the left. I need a copy from the left side. Copy it, clear. And then with this stuff, I just move it over. Tick-tock. Okay, move it over like that, go to the far right side, paste it in. So that way now I get the seamless looping there. Okay. And then I just otherwise resume working on the rest of the hills. This time I need notice how it alternates between a front and then a rear. That's the rear, and then I got another front, now I'm doing another rear. It always alternates between that. Need 30 here. So I can mark where this is. And it's off to making this other hill here. Or at least the next one in the set anyway.